Okay, here we go with another over-technical video. We're going to talk today about running water distribution to a two-story house. And what we're looking at here is just the first of several pictures. This is the end of our one of our gutters. We put the gutters on the ground so we could have a little water in them to keep the ants from coming in. And we're going to have window screens for the mosquitoes, so we're going to try to keep everybody out. You see here the gray water clean out, and this is your black water clean out, because this gutter will have another piece coming. This partition that blocks it off, it's got 4 holes in the top and right below another 4 holes. And what you're looking at here is 2-inch PVC pipe. And this is the full rigid. And this is the kind that comes in a coil. And the basic plan is to run a 3/4 inch PEX B. We're gonna, the plastic bag with the shop back and tie a rope to that. And then we're gonna pull this these water lines through. And they're all gonna come back to manifolds and headers and stuff. So this is just a close-up of before another piece of gutter got poured. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There's about 15 there. He's going to redo this. We'll see another picture in a minute. This fellow speaks English. Bioni, you've worked so much time to time. After the trouble we had making the elbows for odd angles, we found we could get this, and it doesn't. This orange pipe doesn't fit in it, but he made a wooden tool here, which is carved heavy wall bamboo, and we have a heat gun. That was his new best friend, and 5 pipes showing and a few more up here. Anyway, these are all coming into a trench that goes under the house and inside the wall of the stairwell room. There's just another of 8 pipes. This is going down into that place he was sitting. All these pipes are turning right there. This is what a rain gutter form looks like. I think this is the rebar jacked up on something up here. No, wait. These are some hoops to keep the sun off of them while they're moving dirt down here and compacting this and whatever. But the rebar generally would be leaning against the wall right there. And it's like 9 inches on center and 11 to 12 bars lengthwise. Number 12. Okay. Same place. See, they're just showing that some of these pipes, they wanted me to look at it. I can't advise them very much because I'm not allowed to direct them. But they said, somebody said it'd be all right to put those up in the concrete. I said, I'd rather have them in the concrete. But you're doing it. But, I just took some pictures. They set our place on fire again. There's cleanouts every time the gray and black water make a bend, which is at every end of every rain gutter for sure. Notice how it's only burned on our side of the fence. Is it backing up? Oh, okay. This Bioni, he's got his heat gun made by Maxell, and he's softening this up to where he can mash it with his fingers, and he's going to grab this thing, put it in there, wall it around in a circle, and then he's going to grab this pipe down here and shove that on it. And he did that about 200 times. And he's every bit as strong as he looks. He was I forget what he started. He worked for my wife where I met her. 4, 6. Still a lot to go. Okay, this is where it's going to go into the stairwell room. Besides the ones you see going here, there's a couple more to go. They're going to go outside of this. One's going to go to the tilapia pond, and one's going to go to a future water meter for city water. And there's a lot of these are already buried under the ground. You can see some of them coming up right there, because there's a whole slew of these pipes. I'll just skip through these. They're all doing the same thing. I think this is no, this may be the way we ended up. We made a bunch of odd angle elbows. They don't make 30-degree elbows for 2-inch pipe, but we make them. There's a video on it. I won't get into it this time. I'd spend too long. I'm not sure where that is. I guess a septic tank over here on the left. Okay, this is in the stairwell room. 2, 4, 5, 8, 9 coming up. Every place that there's a drain, this is obviously a drain line because it's got a Y in it, cleanout Y. That way we don't have to take any plumbing apart to put a snake in something we want to check on or do something to, or hook compressed air to, whatever we want to do. It'll have a plug in the floor rather than taking apart P-traps and stuff under sinks and really inconvenient places. Some of these homemade 12, 15-degree elbows, they're made out of 45 sawed in half and one side rotated. Nail-Tex, wrap a sock around it, more Nail-Tex, strong as a devil. They have to miss this rebar. Rule here is we don't cut rebar. If this rebar runs from one side of the house to the other, and we don't weaken it by cutting chunks out of it any place. We fit around it, or we just flat don't do it. This is going over to a toilet in the stairwell room, and this will be the clean out thing. And you'll notice that this T is set up to let us run that clean out that way or this way. This is another one where a bunch came up through the floor, and this is the pipe we were just looking at. And this is a shower drain, and that's a clean out for the shower drain. No idea where that is. This is stairwell room, because that scaffold stayed there for a couple of months. And also it's got 4 holes. The kitchen has 5, so this is a stairwell room. This is looking the other way. I took a lot of pictures because if I have to drill a hole here sometime, by where the pipe is, I know where the rebar is. This is one that looks like they've got a toilet flange almost straight up and down. Can't be a toilet. There's no clean out Y. I don't know what that is, but it'd have to have a clean out if it was a toilet. Oh, we dry fit all this stuff and then put felt tip pen marks on it, just like you use in the US. And then when you glue it back together, you just put them on one piece at a time and hold them till they start to set. Obviously somebody didn't have a felt tip marker. And this bunch of joggles of homemade things is because it just can't impress on somebody. I want these things vertical coming out of the floor. So there was 3 attempts on this one pipe to make it vertical. It may not be yet, but we're going to pour a concrete around all this here, about 6 inches thick. It's a toe kick for cabinets and things. And we'll get one more shot at it. And some night I'm going to do them myself. Yeah, more cleanouts and pipe. This would be one of the 4 spare bedrooms. It's a bathroom for a spare bedroom. No idea where that is. No idea where that is. I should have wrote it on the pipes. But I'll be able to figure out what it is later on because I'll be in that room looking at the pattern of the pipes that's coming out of the floor. So I can figure them out later. Kitchen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope. Master bath. We have the hers bathroom, and we have the smaller his bathroom, and then we have a shower 6 feet by 8 feet with a sliding glass door and a bench down the side taking up 15 inches of the shower. All the other showers, the bench is on the end, but on this one it runs down along the wall because, like I say, we got a 6 foot wide shower. Rain head on the hers end and any old cheap shower head on my end. I don't know what that one is either, but somebody thought something was going to come out of there. They've plugged it up. It looks like they plugged this one too. Must have a rat. A single lonely pipe. Middle of the kitchen, it's a drain for the island. No idea. Again, no idea. That's just laying there. That's fake. There's no pipe looking like that. That's just laying on top of the thing. Oh. A lot of that's shadows. The bottom of this bin is this line down here. And I had the guys put this liner in there out of 3/16 stainless. This is part of the bakery. We have a Legacy, Hobart Legacy stand mixer. It's not being used. They throw all the stuff, the dry goods, into this trough and stir it up with a boat paddle. And then they flop it around with the boat paddle, and then they get in there and do what they want with it. They grab a hunk and mold it into a pan, and away it goes. The problem was the thing had a galvanized steel liner that was about half rusted away. There was bits of paint on it like it had painted at one time. I didn't think it was food safe. So I lined that with stainless. The power kneading machine was stainless. Oh, the gutters from one side of the house, gutters from the other side of the house, they come together, and we poured a concrete trough down to that, down here. This is the future water cistern. And before we get too much closer to rainy season, I'm going to have to ask Roar to go out there and have him shovel me a ditch from this around to the end of that water runoff. Because every bit of water that falls on the cottage or on any of the roofs around it or the gutter comes out right there. This hole's 12 feet deep. And when this picture's taken, there's about 4 feet of freeboard left. So there's 8 feet of water in there from before we did this, when it was running over the edge. But they filled some bags full of dirt and stuff and shored it up so they could pour concrete on it. And it's going to be sitting on ground here and sitting on ground here, and it's got just a couple of rebars in it. And I don't think it'll fall in. It does, will jack it up. Two-Tay's tricycle. My hard to start thing over here. It needs the carburetor cleaned again. But the idle mixture screw, the bleed screw for the air for the idle, is completely blocked by the starter motor, which of course I'd have to have a battery to work, and I only get 4 months out of a battery, so I just quit buying them. And then the slide adjustment for the idle speed is behind the battery box with the battery tight against it. Can't turn that either. So what you do is you take this side of the bike apart, take the carburetor off, While it's off, you clean it, and you count how many turns in or out those things are, and then you make the change you want to make, and you put it all back together and try it. And after 4 or 5 times, it's running good enough to keep on running when you pull up to a stop, or it has enough compression braking that you don't have to hold the brakes downgrade just to keep it from running away. Just leave it that way. Oh, after a while, I did buy or download the Mikuni tune-up manual. There's 4 stages in that carburetor, and the first thing you learn is it's all additive. Whatever fuel you put in with idle mixture, it adds to it the intermediate and the main jet, and then the choke. They all add fuel. So if this bike was running so hot, you couldn't get near it when you shut it off. You couldn't touch the head or the cylinder fins; it would burn you. It smelled like hot metal, but it was brand new, so I didn't want to change it. And after I got tired of taking the thing apart to try to clean out those emulsifier holes, I got the manual and read it. And I said, oh, it's additive? So the idle was all right, but I leaned it out, and I added a lot more mid-range fuel. Took the metering rod, which is one of the adjustments, it goes up and down the slide, comes in the center position. If you raise it up, that makes it a smaller needle because it's tapered, and there's 2 notches each way. And I just skipped the 1 notch. I went for 2. Oh, it runs so much better. Whole new motorcycle when I started it back up. I'm afraid to touch it because it was running so good. But without a battery, you have to turn it, and the motor's so fast to, because the battery's trying to drain whatever electric you're making. On English bikes, there's 3 coils. It's a 6-coil alternator, and 3 of the coils are grounded full time. 1 is ignition, and the other 2 are electrics for the horn, the lights, all that kind of stuff. This one acts like, I don't know how many were grounded, but the ones they're using, looks like the lights and the ignition are on the same coils. Because if I coast it off of any kind of a grade, get 2-3 miles an hour, it doesn't turn over more than 1 revolution or 2, and it's running. And I'm half dead from kicking it, and all it needed was turn a little faster. I gave a guy 40 pesos last week to kick it, and that's 2 days. I think we're done with plumbing. Okay, once we pull the plumbing, it'd be a 3/4 inch PEX line coming out of this pipe. The one coming in, it gets a valve. Then it gets a manifold. And the manifold is like 5 outlets plus another one on the other end, which is also 3/4. And you have to cap that. Or you can hook something up to it, but I don't need that many. So I'm going to plug it up. I got a specialty plug that goes in there. And that way you can put valves coming out of the manifold to every pipe going to someplace. When they dug back down one of those pipes Beyond was putting in the ground, we buried them all in the concrete, so hopefully there's none of them full of concrete. That'll bring on more talk. Anyway, the manifolds feed, all the bathrooms have 2 feeds, the kitchen has 2 feeds, plus 1 for the island makes 3. The living room has water, just in case we want to put a wet bar in the middle of the room, so we have a drain and a water line, but no plans to really use them. But they're under the floor, and we'll pull the PEX tube in there while we're doing all that, just to keep it out of the sun. We got that aluminum tape that they call it air conditioning duct tape or something like that. It's actual duct tape rather than a duct tape everybody calls duct tape. We tried to use it for blemishes in poured concrete forms. Concrete sticks to it. You couldn't get a better glue. That stuff will glue anything but 2 drops of water together. SOLD, sold. That can't be what it reads. Anyway, when this comes out, it goes to manifolds. Everything gets a service valve. where it comes out, wherever it's going, gets another service valve. So we basically can isolate any defect in the plumbing. And doing it this way, if we have a problem with a piece of tubing, some rat finds a way to get down there and run alongside that pipe and it starts eating it, puts a hole in it, we can hook the new pipe to the old one and pull it out with the old one. Pull one in while we're pulling one out. So this is totally repairable, which is the main reason we're doing it. If I use that PPR pipe, it's so flexible. I'm not sure how you're supposed to support something like that. I see a lot of it poured in concrete, and they run it down the middle of beams and stuff. If you get a leak in there, it's inside your rebar cage for your beam. I don't believe you can take that concrete out of there. Of course, it's going to leak a different place than the hole is. But if you keep taking out concrete enough and find it, how do you make that beam structural again? I don't like that. But if you have a HardieFlex ceiling, like drop tray ceilings everywhere, I could see running PPR pipe along over top of the ceilings. You wouldn't have to support it. Just lay it up there and put a block of wood under it every 3 feet. I wouldn't lay it on the HardieFlex because it's going to have condensation, and when it sweats, it's going to make the HardieFlex wet, and that's bound to telegraph through to the bottom side. If it doesn't pop the paint off, it'll leave a dark spot from the water. Anyway, this is so we can pull the pipe in and out and back in, and it comes up underneath every place where it actually goes to. And I believe I've covered everything I wanted to talk about on this also. So you can give us a thumbs any direction you want, up, down. Comment if you learned anything. Comment if you see I'm making a serious problem here. It's kind of late to change because all this is, the orange pipe is inside that gutter around the house. There's not a whole lot of negotiating on that. And I don't think it's sealed up enough that we could put water through the orange pipe. Hadn't never thought of that, but you might could. There's also a red like hose here that's got reinforcing nylon in it. I think that's a follow-on to Kest pipe, that Vesta Kest pipe from the 70s. Was put in places that could freeze because freeze can't hurt it. It can expand the 4%. When it thaws out, it's undamaged. I think it's follow-on to that. We have some red that was here when I showed up, and it's now almost white. It was pink for a year or two, but it's faded now to where it's almost white. But we haven't had a bit of trouble with it laying right out in the Philippine sun. So if the PEX pipe doesn't do what we want, they still sell that everywhere. And we'll probably get some of that. It's really flexible. We use it for garden hoses and things like that. Most of the water that was used to pour the concrete in the house came through that hose into barrels. So we have a fallback on that. We won't be using copper because you can't buy decent solder anymore that the solder copper with. They've just reduced the lead content so much. I have trouble buying rosin core solder that works to put wires together. They sell it here, though it does work. But tip got dirty on my soldering iron. I bought 2 new ones, and I made a mistake of cleaning one of them with steel wool. That's junk. I made a mistake of using a 1200 sandpaper on one. It's junk. And I cleaned the other one by melting solder on it, wiping it with a wet towel. I haven't tried it. It may work again, maybe not. It's a ceramic one. It's not metal, so it may actually work. Okay, so end of this video. You have a great day. It's more fun in the Philippines. I'm going to turn this off.